If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code REMA, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. Alright, so what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're actually going to talk about the state of this game. It's not something I usually do, but I really feel like I want to express my opinion on the current state of FC24 because honestly, as a content creator, it has been eating me up inside. I know I primarily post like custom tactics and that, but even being on this game, playing those matches to get tactics for you guys is an absolute chore, you know? This is probably one of the worst games that I've ever played in its current state, and it's really frustrating because when I first started playing FC24, before the metas were found out, before 71 depth and all that, it was actually okay for the most part, you know. Not everybody was always going for cutbacks at the start, so before the meta and how broken this game was truly exposed, it wasn't too bad, but as this game's gone on, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. Now, I'm going to go as far as saying this is the worst FIFA FC game of all time, excluding FIFA 19, because a lot of us don't even count that as a football game. So the worst game of all time, excluding FIFA 19, because I don't even count that. You know, it's not. If you played that, guys, it's incomparable. You know, this game in its worst is still not as bad as that. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about FC24 and where I am with the game is, first off, we've got to talk about the gameplay issues that we have at the moment. So we've touched on it briefly, but the 71 depth thing is the biggest thing that I can possibly say about this game, along with the cutbacks. So the problem with the 71 depth tactic, if you guys are not aware, is that the game will essentially press for you. It'll do everything for you. It completely congests the middle of the pitch, so you have absolutely nowhere to go through the middle, which means people always have to go down the wings, and the only plays that they can attempt are those cutbacks plays, which is something we're going to talk about as well. So the 71 depth for me is one of the biggest killers in this gameplay, because there is absolutely nothing you can do through the middle of the pitch and it makes it completely boring. So 71 depth is something that needs to be fixed, and I always see people saying EA need to hotfix this, and I agree that it needs to change, but what you guys have got to realize is the moment EA change something, they have to change something else. You know, you can't remove this overpowered pressure without having a good manual pressure, because if you remove this automatic pressure without giving somebody the manual pressure that they can use, like second man press effectively, and if you guys say this second man press is good, you're wrong, because this is not proper second man press. You know, you're going to get another problem where people can just pass it round and you can't get the ball off them. So you can't just remove one thing without touching upon another. So what EA need to do is figure out how to make manual pressing really effective, so that if you're good at it, you can press, but you know, otherwise the game won't just press for you. So what I'm trying to say is, if you looked at FIFA 18 gameplay, there wasn't really much of a pressure thing in that game. So if you were losing a game, your opponent could genuinely just pass the ball round the back and there was nothing you could do about it. So they didn't have this automatic press thing, but their manual pressing sucks. So that was a big issue as well. So as much as they need to fix this 71 depth, they also need to find a way to counteract people that will then pass it round the back. So you guys get what I'm saying. It's like a bit of a snowball effect where one thing will affect another. So the 71 depth thing, absolutely broken. You cannot play through the middle, restricts your play entirely to the wings, which is god awful, one of the worst things I've seen, and yeah, it's just completely breaking the game. So they need to get rid of this 71 depth BS, but they also need to find a way that manual pressing is good, so you can counteract the people that will then pass it around the back. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about in regards to the actual gameplay is those cutbacks. The cutbacks suck. I hate it, you know. It's important that they're in the game, you know. People do cutback in real life, but it's not the only thing they do. And a lot of the time, it's not the act of the cutback itself, it's how you get to that cutback. You know, what are people doing in this game? Well, they're just picking the ball up with a fullback or a winger, running straight down the line and cutting back. Even if the pass isn't open, they'll still play that pass and, you know, their attacker will still get the ball and score. That is the only play that is being made. Run down the wing, cut back with a pass, and then shoot. That is all you can do. So I don't know why people think this is fun. It's really not. And I'm not necessarily blaming, right? I'm really not. I'm not blaming the people that do this, because honestly, at this point, when you're playing against the 5 backs, the 71 depth, it's literally all you can do. If you go through the middle or try and do something creative, it's not going to work. If you want to play at the top level meta, you have to do that. So it's complete garbage. The 71 depth cutback meta, absolute trash. And what makes it worse this year than in previous years is you actually can't do anything else this year. You know, in previous years you could at least attack through the middle a bit. You could do some skills to work some space. But this year you really can't. You know, you can't really do anything at all. And a lot of the people in the lower divisions might not understand this because, you know, people there are lesser skilled. I don't think it takes skill to be in like the top divisions of FC24. But people in those lower divisions aren't necessarily as aware of the meta. You know, they might not use this 71 depth stuff, or they might not just go for cutbacks. So people in those lower divisions might not understand this. But for those that are in the top divisions of FC24, I'm talking like Div 1, 2, and the Elite Division, of course, that is all you'll come up against. And the reason you only come up against it is because you literally cannot do anything else. So although this meta of the cutbacks was present in previous FIFAs, it wasn't the only thing you could do. So this is what makes the gameplay in this game terrible, in my opinion. What really annoys me about the gameplay as well, which not a lot of people always talk about, I know Inception always bangs on about this, and he's completely correct, it's the attacking AI and the movements. They've literally made it worse than they had like 10 years ago. So I played FIFA since about FIFA 09, alright? And, you know, the game genuinely had better attacking AI. I'm talking in like FIFA 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It got a bit worse after 17, but, you know, in that time period, they had the attacking AI better than it's been. You know, FIFA 17 was probably my personal favorite FIFA game, and we'll get onto that in a moment. But the attacking AI in these newer games is almost non-existent. You know, the worst case of attacking AI I saw was in FIFA 22. Now, it has got a little bit better in 23 and 24. They've improved like the diagonal runs. They've added a few more different attacking AI runs and whatnot. But the biggest problem with the attacking AI is also to do with the 71 depth thing, because when somebody uses 71 depth, it does break your attacking AI. So when your players would make nice, authentic runs, presuming you had the correct cards, we're talking like Griezmann and Benzema, if somebody uses the 71 depth, your attacking AI is broken, your players will move like complete idiots, and it is just not fun to play. So attacking AI, I still think even when somebody is not using the 71 depth thing, it's nowhere near as good enough as it should be. You know, somebody shouldn't have to use a player lock command where you actually have to manually move the player you want to pass to in order to get a decent run. We never required that back in the day because the game was not stupid enough to make your players completely static and run into the wrong positions all the time. I don't understand why they've had to dumb down the attacking AI so you have to do it yourself. That's not a skill, you know? People say there's player lock things that are skill. When you use player lock, all you're doing is moving a player into a position. Everything else is done by the AI, the dribbling, the passing. You know, you don't have to control the pass. It does it for you. So people saying player lock's a skill, it's not at all. It's just some gimmick to, you know, make up for the lack of attacking AI, which I absolutely hate. You know, if this game had good attacking AI where you could actually create chances, do different things, it would make it 10 times more fun. You know, I would say these issues have been present ever since Tom Kalefi EA took over and like gameplay. This isn't a personal attack, but ever since Tom Kalefi became like a big part of this gameplay stuff, it turned from a football game from like FIFA 17 and that into more of a basketball simulator. So in FIFA 17, players were always moving around. There was a lot of things going on. Everybody was always moving. There was none of this static stuff. But in the newer games of FIFA or FC24, when you have the ball, it's basically always like a 1v1. So the player you're controlling that has the ball, and then the player that your opponent is controlling to defend. You know, it's always pretty much like a 1v1 type thing. Everybody else on the pitch is just static. They don't move. They don't do anything, which makes this game dead. And the reason we call it like a basketball ISO simulator is because it mirrors what basketball is like, you know, like taking them on in a 1v1, isolating players and shooting. It's really stupid and it's not football, and I hate that personally because it completely takes away the authenticity and the creativity that you should have in a football game. Now, the gameplay, I could go on for hours and hours and hours about how terrible it is, because honestly, this is probably the most unenjoyable experience I've had. FIFA 19 was complete trash, by the way, and this is up there with how unenjoyable it is. The thing which makes the gameplay worse in this game is the fact that the game modes are complete trash at the same time. So you've got trash gameplay and trash game modes. Now, my biggest problem with FC24 by far is the lack of casual game modes. I absolutely hate the way that this game is formatted. I hate the way this game is formatted because it is completely competitive based. So you've got competitive based game modes, no casual game modes, in a game that is not competitive in any way whatsoever. You know, this game is complete RNG a lot of the time, with the AI doing everything, the rebounds, all the randomness. So you've got these competitive game modes where you're always sweating in a game that is in no way competitive. Now, this would still be terrible. I would still hate it, even if this game had a really high skill gap, because who wants to play ranked all the time? You know, who wants to sweat every time they play a game? Nobody wants to do that. I get why skill-based matchmaking is in game modes like Rivals. It needs to be there. In a ranked game mode where you're, trying to compete for the highest rank, it needs to be skill-based, If you're in the Elite Division of Rivals, you need to play against somebody with a similar skill rating. That's how that works. That is a really good mode. Rivals is a fantastic game mode in that regard, but it shouldn't be the only thing you guys get to play in the week. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. I couldn't sit here and stream this game playing Division Rivals all day. It's not feasible. I wouldn't do it. I'd actually lose my mind. It's one of the biggest reasons I personally don't stream. The game mode balance completely sucks, Foot Champions, probably the most chill game mode in the game at the moment, and that is no cap. Probably Foot Champs qualies more than anything, but even the actual Foot Champs isn't that bad, You at least get that varied, you get the varied opponents, Sometimes you're playing against a good player, other times you're playing against a lesser player, other times you're playing against an absolute demon. That's why Foot Champs probably has the best matchmaking in this game, because you're not always having to sweat against everybody. Sometimes you have a bit of an easier game, other times you have a harder game. That's the balance of gaming. That's what everybody wants. But in FC24, you don't have that balance. You don't have it whatsoever. You kind of have it with Foot Champs, and that's it. You play your Foot Champs games, and that is it. You can't do anything else. And somebody like me, I don't want to play squad battles. You can say that's chill if you like, but it's that chill I will literally fall to sleep. It is boring, and I don't want to play it. I don't want to play against the AI. I really don't. That's a personal thing. If you guys like squad battles, that's fine, but you can't really compare the online game modes to an offline game mode. It's not the same thing. If we look at the online game modes in this game, you have Division Rivals, you have Foot Champions, you have Foot Draft, and you have Friendlies. All of them have this stupid skill-based matchmaking, except maybe Foot Draft, but that you have to pay for, so it doesn't really count. So the actual main game modes we're looking at are Foot Champs, Division Rivals, and Friendlies. So I've just topped on the fact that I think Division Rivals is a fantastic game mode, because I truly believe it is. I don't think anybody would have a problem with Rivals if we had this balance in the game. So Rivals is good because you get your 8 or 7 wins against those opponents that are in your level. You have to earn out those wins. That is fine. But nobody wants to play that after those 7 wins. You shouldn't make people want to play this casually all day, every day. Nobody wants to play Rivals like that, and with good reason. It's horrible. No one wants to do that. So you get your wins. Then what do? You've got your Foot Champs, which is fine. You've got, that matchmaking, which is fine. I still think Foot Champions being like quantity amount is terrible, but, it's actually all right when you play it these days. Foot Champs used to be the most stressful game mode in the world. Now I'd probably say it is the most chill, which is actually crazy to say, but Foot Champs is all right. Rivals is all right. Friendlies, I think, is absolutely ridiculous in the way it's formatted, by the way. Nobody wants it. Really, nobody wants it. The reason Friendlies suck is because they're in no way friendly whatsoever. In fact, they're probably the most sweaty of all games, because what EA like to do now is they like to do these cup tournaments in the Friendlies game modes. So what I mean by this is you have like the Centurions Cup. I'm sure you guys have all seen it in the objectives. If we go to the objectives now, we'll probably see one. I have no idea what we're looking at. FC Pro Cup, there you go. win 4 matches in the FC Pro Cup. You have to do all these objectives, which is okay in itself if you don't make it quantity amount. Because by making it quantity amount, where you limit your opponent, you limit your players to playing a certain amount of games, you make everybody play like losers. You make everybody play like their family is being held hostage, because you can't afford to chill. You have to get those wins or you're not getting this stuff. You know, you have to get it in those certain amount of games in a friendly game mode, or you're not getting the stuff. Friendly, by the way. And what makes it worse is, like I said, that skill-based matchmaking. So you've got quantity amount and skill-based matchmaking in a friendly mode. That is meant to be the most casual thing you have in the game right now, and it's the most sweaty. So every game mode, to a certain extent, is extremely sweaty. I'm still going to say FUT Champs is sweaty because it is quantity amount and it's still semi-competitive. What EA are really lacking in this game is the casual game mode. Literally just add a crap tournament mode, or even the old seasons back, and let us play that for less rewards. You know, people always say, oh, you know, we'll need good rewards in it. No, we won't, because if you put crazy rewards in it, people will sweat and it won't be casual. You need like something, you need a small incentive so that long term, you know, you feel like you're earning something, that you're grinding for something, but the reward can't be too crazy, otherwise you invite people to sweat too much, which is not what we want. You know, even winning like a tournament and getting like 4,000 coins, even less, you know, something like that would be good, because you're still earning something and you're playing in a chilled environment where sometimes you are constantly playing, like sometimes you're playing against good players, other times you're playing against lesser players. That is the balance everybody wants. That is the balance I personally need in order to actually tolerate this game. I would actually be able to stream if we had more casual modes, because there is something I can do outside of sweating. Because if I had to do rivals and FUT Champs all day, every day, like some of these streamers, I would actually lose my mind. I can't do it. I really can't do it. And the game modes, like they really go hand in hand with all of the issues that we have in this game. So we spoke about the gameplay being bad. Would anybody care so much about the gameplay being absolute trash if you didn't have to sweat all the time and the results weren't so important? Probably not. You know, games like FIFA 15, although people say were absolutely fantastic, they still had their gameplay flaws. But the thing is, people didn't care that much because the result wasn't always crazy important. So the main issue is the fact that this game is competitive based in a without the gameplay being competitive. So you've got all these comp modes without the game being competitive, and there is nowhere to chill. And this also goes hand in hand with the SBCs. So we've spoken about the lack of casual game modes. And what this causes in the other game modes is it's full meta or nothing. You know, if you're playing Rivals, you're not going to want to use this Marcel Sabitzer card because he's just not good enough. You know, in a tournament mode, for example, this card would be alright. It'd be great to use. You know, you could chill, use him, he'd be alright. But in a full meta game mode where the result is important and you're playing against the absolute sweat lords of FC24, this card's not going to cut it. Medium work rates are not ideal. You'd need high work rates. If you're playing him as a CDM, you'd need medium high work rates. The physical's a bit low, his defensive stats are a bit low. Oh, not a lot of sprint speed. You know, this is the way people go. And it's annoying, but, you know, it's all you can do in this game. You know? Nobody's going to want this card in Division Rivals Elite Division. It's a fact. Nobody will. You can say you will if you want, but I don't believe you. There's the odd time EA will release some really meta SBCs, which in the state of this game are the best ones they do. Because if we look at Laurent Blanc, if he's still here, he might be in the icons thing. Yeah, I completed Laurent Blanc because he's a fantastic player in the current state of this game. He's full meta. You will use him in every game mode. That is a good SBC. But the thing is, all of these SBCs, Stoichkov, Beckham, Vidic, Pirlo, Schmeichel, all of these player SBCs here, if you have a casual game mode, you can use them all. You know, every SBC would be a W because you can use all of these players in that mode and chill. You're not restricted to the same select few players to fit a crap meta in this game, you know. People are using Gold Son in FUT Champs. That's who I use in Rivals as well. 17k, you know. Nobody's going to spend the extra coins to do Negredo when you've got Son who's better in the game. That's how it works. It's annoying, but that's how the game is. If you have a more casual game mode, people will actually use these different cards because you have the area to do that. In FC24, a lot of this content is completely meaningless. They release all of this stuff, all of these players, and none of them will see the light of day in most of these game modes because they're just not good enough. They're not meta. But if you have the game mode where you can chill, these are all usable. And the game becomes more fun because you get to try different things. You get to do different things. There's a lot of variety, but there isn't at the moment. You know, the best way I can, give an example to you guys about these game modes is looking at the real world of football. You know, if you look at the Premier League, you've got Manchester City. You know, every now and then they'll get a tough game. You know, they might play against Tottenham, Arsenal. You know, that's a tough game for them. And then other times they might play against Nottingham Forest, and that's an easier game for them. So you even have that balance in real football, and we don't even have that in FIFA. So, like, I don't know, it's just not good, man. It's really not good. And it's stressful for me as a content creator because with the combination of terrible gameplay and the combination with crap game modes, I just don't want to play it. I really don't want to play it. I'd rather do other things with my time. I just don't want to play it. That's the God's honest truth. The only reason I actually make these videos for you guys at all is because at this point, it gives me a few extra quid in my pocket. You know, I enjoy talking to you guys, don't get me wrong. Absolutely lovely community. I love you all. But it does. This game does give me a bit of extra pocket money, and it still stresses me out like no end, which is crazy, you know. So I love making content for you guys, but I don't love this game. Not one bit. I really don't. It's probably one of the least enjoyable FIFAs I've ever played in my life. There was something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. People always talk about how promos carry this game, and you know, in the current state of it, that is true. You know, promos have to be released weekly in order to keep people interested, which just makes me laugh, to be honest with you, because their game is that dead where if they're not releasing cards every week, nobody will touch it. You know, back in the day, FIFA 15, you had you had Team of the Week, you had the Man of the Matches every now and then, you had Team of the Year and Team of the Season. People were using gold players in January, and they were still having fun. So I don't think it's because promos are terrible that people aren't playing this game. It might be to an extent now because that's all people have to look forward to. EA have kind of dug themselves that hole at this point. But back in the day, promos weren't really that necessary because the game could stand alone by itself. You know, people had fun on FIFA 15 playing games and that. People don't have fun playing FC 24, so they have to make absolutely banging promos to make people interested. Otherwise, the game is dead, you know? I think that is backwards anyway, to be honest with you, because let's say EA release a promo where you could do an objective and you win a certain amount of games, and let's say you get 5 100k packs. A lot of people will be like, oh my god, what a W. It's not really a W, though, in the current landscape of this game, because you get those 100k packs by playing a game that you hate, and that's the only reason you're playing, to get those 100k packs. You open those 100k packs, and then you don't want to play the game. So you're like being rewarded to play something that you don't want to play. What would be good is if you had great gameplay, and then you had an objective like that. So you enjoy playing the game to get those 100k packs, and you enjoy the game even more after having those 100k packs, because you got something you like. You know, I don't think promos alone can carry this game or dig it out of a hole, because the fact is the game itself is absolute trash. You know, it really is. I hate it. I hate it. I really don't like it. One last thing I wanted to add is even if the game was good, let's say the gameplay was good, right? There's something that they haven't fixed, something that has annoyed me and many other people, mainly Inception with his Timo Werner gameplay that he doesn't get often enough. You know, the biggest thing that EA have failed to fix after a decade, which makes me lose my mind, is the inconsistent gameplay. So they could fix all of this crap I was talking about, but their game's still inconsistent as hell. Sometimes you can play and it's really fast and responsive, other times it is crazy slow and sluggish. Now, some people are actually really blind to this fact. So, for example, I play pro clubs with my brother, right? And I had to point out to him, look, the gameplay is terrible. You know, this is different to what we were playing yesterday. And it took him a few games or a few days to get used to what I was saying. But once he started to notice those differences about the gameplays, you know, for example, your player taking a heavy touch or really emphasizing a pass that they weren't doing the other day, he started to understand that this was an issue, you know? So this inconsistent gameplay is still the worst thing in this game by far, because it ruins your experience. When you have slow gameplay, it doesn't matter what the mechanics are, it doesn't matter what the game modes are, it's unplayable. It truly is, guys, because I've played pro clubs and I actually just don't want to play it when the gameplay's slow. I hate it. You know, if I play inconsistent gameplay, I'm just like, get me off this game. I really don't want to touch it. It's not something I always talk about in my videos, but honestly, it is a real killer for me because I'm often restricted to playing in the evening or late at night because it's the only time the gameplay is bearable. You know, if you're playing midday, yeah, God help you, really. Because bad gameplay is honestly, yeah, I don't know what to say regarding it. It's actually horrendous, you know. And the fact that they haven't fixed this over like 10 years now is ridiculous, you know. It's actually ridiculous. So I just wanted to touch upon that because, yeah, passionception, pinception always goes on about people never talking about this issue. I just wanted to bring that issue up, so I do acknowledge it. I hate it, but, you know, he's your guy for that. If you want to talk about inconsistent gameplay, go to Inception. Like, he could talk to you all day about it. But, yeah, it sure as hell does annoy me. But, yeah, I just wanted to make this video, guys, because, you know, this game is stressful as hell, man. I don't enjoy it, right? I've got a current hernia, yeah? I've got to give poo samples to the doctor. I've got to have all these blood tests done, and this is still the most stressful thing in my life at the moment. Yeah. That's where we're at. So I will push on with content. I will, you know, keep talking to you guys. I will keep doing stuff. But yeah, I had to say something, man, because this game is genuinely horrendous. But yeah, I'll catch you all later. Peace.